Good day viewers, welcome to another edition of the Daily Strange Stories. I'm John Brown. I hope you're enjoying a relaxing weekend and cherishing quality time with loved ones. Our lead story for today: Never Mess Up with General Mkhwanazi, the rise and fall of Ramaphosa's chief campaigner Senzo Mchunu. In the fight for justice in South Africa, sometimes the greatest battles are fought from within. This is the story of General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi, the KwaZulu-Natal police chief known for his unwavering stance against corruption and the political firestorm he ignited.
Safety of South Africans is in jeopardy. At least Mkhwanazi still has a firearm. He still has a men and women that he works with. He can still somehow protect himself. There are men and women out there that are vulnerable. They've got no one to protect. So we can't be worried about our own safety. We must worry about the safety of the citizens. So ours is to go out there and lay our life to protect them. That is my only concern right now.
His target: Senzo Mchunu, once a rising star in the African National Congress, a trusted advisor to President Cyril Ramaphosa, but now the subject of intense scrutiny. Did Mchunu abuse his power to shield suspected hit squad leaders like Katiso Molefe and the notorious Cat Matlala? Will these multiple explosive revelations at the Madlanga Commission pull back the curtain on Senzo Mchunu's potential web of interference? Or will the system protect its own? The Madlanga Commission is now the stage for a battle that will determine the future of South Africa's fight against corruption. Today's video will answer these questions. Senzo Mchunu's rise in politics had been steady and influential, positioning him as a trusted confidant to Ramaphosa. Born on April 21 in 1958, Mchunu started his career as a teacher before diving into the world of politics with the African National Congress. He became the inaugural provincial secretary of the party's KwaZulu-Natal branch in 1994, right after its establishment, and entered the provincial legislature in 1997. His roles grew over the years, including a return to the provincial secretary position from 2005 to 2009, followed by an appointment as member of the Executive Council for Education under Zweli Mkhize's government. By 2013, Mchunu had succeeded Mkhize as both the ANC provincial chairperson and the premier of KwaZulu-Natal, a position he held until 2016. During this time, he aligned himself closely with figures like former President Jacob Zuma, but by 2016, his loyalties shifted toward Ramaphosa, making him a vital supporter in key campaigns. Mchunu's bond with Ramaphosa deepened ahead of the ANC's 54th National Conference in 2017, where he emerged as Ramaphosa's chief campaigner in KwaZulu-Natal. He even ran for the position of ANC Secretary General on a slate aligned with Ramaphosa, though he narrowly lost to Ace Makashule by just 24 votes amid controversy and calls for a recount. Despite the setback, Mchunu secured a spot on the ANC National Executive Committee, ranking 18th in popularity among the elected members. This led to his appointment as chairperson of organizing and campaigns at the party's Luthuli House headquarters, a role that kept him in close contact with top leadership. His efforts paid off after the 2019 general election when Ramaphosa appointed him as Minister of Public Service and Administration, followed by a shift to Minister of Water and Sanitation in 2021. By June 2024, Mchunu took on the role of Minister of Police, a move welcomed by some but met with warnings from unions to avoid meddling in operational matters, a caution he seemingly ignored, leading to his current troubles. The turning point came with Mchunu's abrupt decision to disband the Political Killings Task Team in KwaZulu-Natal, a specialized unit formed in 2018 to tackle politically motivated crimes that had been plaguing the province. On December 31, 2024, Mchunu issued a letter directing the immediate dissolution of the team, claiming it no longer added value to policing efforts across the country. This order raised eyebrows because it bypassed standard procedures and encroached on the authority of the National Police Commissioner. Evidence later presented at the Madlanga Commission suggested that the move might have been influenced by pressures to shield certain suspects, including Katiso Molefe and Cat Matlala, who have been linked to at least 18 high-profile murder and attempted murder cases. Molefe, often referred to as KT, and Matlala had connections that extended into the criminal underworld, with phone records from their arrests showing direct associations with Mchunu himself. These links explain the haste in dismantling a team that was closing in on them. General Mkhwanazi, as the KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner, first learned of the disbandment not through official channels, but via a WhatsApp message from a civilian friend unrelated to policing. This informal notification highlighted the irregularity of the process, as no formal communication reached key stakeholders. Mkhwanazi, who had been instrumental in the task team's operations, viewed the order as irrational and potentially damaging to ongoing investigations. He noted that the team had been making significant progress, including arrests in cases tied to corruption, whistleblowers, and organized crime figures. For instance, 10 members of the task team had been sent to Gauteng to assist in probing the murder of Armand Swart, an engineer who had exposed corruption at the state-owned entity Transnet. This investigation led to the arrest of a hitman, a former Transnet employee, and a detective from Johannesburg, uncovering broader networks that implicated Molefe and Matlala as persons of interest by December 2024. Just weeks after these identifications, Mchunu's disbandment letter arrived, directing that the team be shut down immediately. Mkhwanazi resisted full implementation, ensuring the team was never completely dissolved, but the order still caused disruptions. A total of 121 dockets were transferred from KwaZulu-Natal to the National Police Office in Pretoria between March and April 2025, stalling arrests and prosecutions for months. These dockets involved sensitive cases related to political murders, and their removal meant no investigative work progressed during that period. Only in August 2025 were they returned, allowing arrests to resume, but the delay had already created a backlog that affected families seeking closure. The Madlanga Commission, established by President Ramaphosa to investigate allegations of corruption and interference in the criminal justice system, became the stage for these revelations. Named after Acting Deputy Chief Justice Mbuyiseli Madlanga, the inquiry began hearings more than a week before September 27, 2025, focusing heavily on Mchunu's role. Mkhwanazi was the first witness, testifying about how the disbandment threatened to implode key investigations.
What was of a concern with the communication that is happening, commissioners, between General Mkhwanazi and Cat Matlala? One conversation that is there, it's about the disbandment of the political killings task team. And this communication happened on the 31st of December 2024. And his message, one of the messages that he sends, General Mkhwanazi sends to Cat Matlala, I'm going to quote as extracted from the WhatsApp, that today is the day and Matlala should just stand back. So this is what Mkhwanazi is telling Matlala, that today is the day, just stand back. And we know that the minister's letter was signed on the 31st of December. And General Mkhwanazi is talking about the disbandment of the team on the same day to Matlala. So which means he knows that it's going to happen on the very same day. So I must indicate, as I conclude on this one, that at the time, neither myself, the National Commissioner, or the project manager, General Khumalo, knew about this decision to close. So it is something that the team picked it up when they continued the investigation. Had we not arrested this Cat Matlala and have access to that phone, we probably might not have known about this. So this is just to display the level of connectivity that General Mkhwanazi has in the police. Well, he said it in public, that, which is on the record on TV, that he was with a part of the operation to bring Thabo Bester into the country.
He inferred that figures like Dumisani Khumalo, the former national head of crime intelligence arrested earlier in 2025 on charges he denied, were wrongly accused by bad cops like Deputy Commissioner for Crime Detection Lieutenant General Shadrack Sibia of being part of a larger plot to sabotage probes. Mkhwanazi highlighted ongoing issues in crime intelligence, pointing out that networks from past scandals, such as the 2011 slush fund case involving former head Richard Mhluli, still lingered in high positions without reforms. National Police Commissioner Fanny Masemola followed, corroborating Mkhwanazi's account.
Insofar as the report had to include a write-up of the justification of the disbandment of the PKTT, it goes without saying that I could not justify the disbandment, and neither could Khumalo. My position has always been that PKTT had to remain. Therefore, in the report to the minister, we simply state that the directive of the minister to disband has been noted, and that the initial objective and the directive by the President has been achieved with noticeable decrease of political-related killings in KZN as a result of the PKTT's intervention and relentless pursuit of its mandate. This is the best we could do in the circumstances, since this was an instruction and not a discussion. Commissioners, well, you'll recall that we were still with the disbandment plan, but the team, I kept on renewing financial authorities, so the team is still working. As I said, remember there is no disbandment letter that I personally sent to either General Khumalo and or the provincial commissioner. So they were still functioning, because there is no clarity in this disbandment plan. We were still working on it, and safe to say that as one was trying to manage this process, looking for the real reason that never came for why is the team disbanded. And eventually, after the arrest of Matlala on the 14th of May 2025, it became clear as to what was the objective for the disbandment.
Masemola described Mchunu's directive as a total encroachment on his operational mandate, emphasizing that ministers set broad priorities but do not dictate specific deployments. He recounted attempts to understand Mchunu's reasoning, only to be told that political killings were a pre-1994 phenomenon and that current incidents were merely ordinary murders, a claim Masemola refuted by citing 295 finalized cases and 115 ongoing ones handled by the task team.
The minister's conduct in this meeting and in the general regarding the disbandment was very concerning to me. At this meeting of the 6th of the 6th of March 2025 in Cape Town, when the meeting started, I asked the minister, can you provide this forum or these officers that are here, what is the reason for disbanding this political killings task team? Because we see we are planning disbandment, we are disbandment, you must table a plan, you want immediate disbandment, I suggest the winding down, there is no agreement, but what are the reasons for this disbandment?
General, does that question suggest that it was not clear to you from the letter of 31 December 2024 what the reason was?
Yeah, the reasons on the letter of the 31st of December 2024 was not convincing to me. That you have done assessment. You have done assessment where? With who? That was my problem. So it was not clear, and I couldn't take that as a reason. And the minister later, not immediately, later in that meeting, he responded that political killings took place somewhere pre-1994 and not after.
If these political killings by the minister are said to have taken place pre-1994 and not after, is that statement accurate?
No, that statement is not accurate. The political killings have been taking place, yes, pre-94, even after 94. I worked in KwaZulu-Natal from the year 2000 up to 2010. And during that period, I had a small team that was dealing with the very same political killings.
Masemola even approached President Ramaphosa in February 2025, warning that dissolving such a successful unit without process was damaging, but received no follow-up after the president promised to address it. Major General Petronella van Rooyen, head of governance, legislation, and policy at the South African Police Service Legal Services Division, added weight to these criticisms. She testified that Mkhwanazi lacked the authority to issue such an order, as it strayed into the National Commissioner's constitutional competence. The decision to disband fell exclusively under Masemola's purview, and doing so unilaterally violated regulatory frameworks.
Government's policy does not only relate to the decision or view of a president and a minister, and this is even more pertinent in view of our current government of national unity. So it cannot be proposed that even if it was discussed with the president, it has now become government's policy or government's intention to dissolve the PKTT. Clearly, it was an instruction by the minister. It also contained the word, I believe repeatedly, direct. The question is, was it a lawful instruction or direction, in the sense, did the minister have the power to direct or command the closure of a task team that was investigating crimes? And in my view, it did not have that authority, because it relates to the operations, investigating cases, and the operations of the police. In other words, the execution of the police's mandate in terms of Section 205(3). If we say the National Commissioner is responsible to manage and control the police service, that must be linked to manage and control the police service in the execution of its constitutional mandate. And the decision of a minister to close a political task team that was responsible for the investigation of crime, in my view, fell outside the mandate or authority of the minister.
So in short, what may be purporting to be a Section 2072 direction cannot be such a direction if it has strayed onto operational matters.
I agree with that submission or with that explanation, Chair.
Van Rooyen outlined how proper protocol would involve consultation, perhaps suggesting a phased wind-down if performance issues existed, rather than an abrupt halt. Elaine Harrison, the Director of Public Prosecutions in KwaZulu-Natal, provided perhaps the most striking testimony on September 26, 2025, as the Commission's fourth witness. She learned of the disbandment through social media reports in early January 2025 while on leave, initially dismissing them as false information. Upon returning to work, an advocate confirmed the reports might be accurate, yet no official notification ever arrived at her office.
Firstly, there had been no formal communication to me about the de-establishment of the task team itself, other than what I saw on social media. Secondly, Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi had not addressed the de-establishment of the task team in his letter. He had referred only to the removal of the dockets. Thirdly, an enormous amount of work had taken place to ensure the necessary coordination by providing a dedicated prosecutorial team to address all the challenges that had historically been raised in responding to the work of the task team. And fourthly, news of the disestablishment emerged at the time that all of the work that had been put in was clearly bearing fruit, and the coordination was producing the desired results.
Harrison stressed the task team's essential role in addressing crimes that threaten to destabilize KwaZulu-Natal and potentially spread elsewhere, especially with the 2026 local government elections approaching, a time when such incidents historically increase.
In 2026, there will be local government elections. We are aware that all elections are often preceded by violent political activity. This consists of murder, attempted murder, assault, criminal injury, malicious injury to property, etc. being committed. The modus operandi differs in that it may involve members from the same political party against each other, or between the different political parties. And the reason I say this is clearly in KwaZulu-Natal, we see that every time that there are elections, this is the norm that happens in KZN. And it was a forewarning that in going towards the next elections, which are going to be in 2026, that we can expect that there'll be some spike of political activity, violence within the province. And I was worried, as I said, I was worried at that stage, and a bit frustrated that no one is coming out to tell me what is the correct picture regarding this letter that had now circulated in the media.
Harrison detailed the operational fallout. Some task team members left the province after the directive, impacting prosecutions. The team had dedicated prosecutors, ballistics experts, and phone analysts who sped up reports, but during the disruption, her office had to rely on slower national channels, leading to delays. She estimated a loss of 3 months in progress, resulting in a backlog of 15 high-profile cases and a 10 to 15% drop in conviction rates. Had she been consulted, Harrison would have opposed the move, citing the team's achievements like 34 arrests and 20 successful indictments. The lack of communication created uncertainty in the National Prosecuting Authority's annual plans, derailing coordination and leaving dockets in limbo.
So what Advocate Gaba reported was that there were some functionaries. So after this whole letter now that was in the media, and he's in consultation with General Khumalo, is that it also was that the PKTT was no longer having all the functionaries that had been there before this de-establishment letter. So some of them had now been removed. Chairperson, I'm not yet sure about whether all of them are back. I cannot respond to that. I didn't query that, whether, and let me just say, I didn't query whether everyone is back. I think for me at this stage was, we need to get the work going. That is all I need, is let's get the work going. We've lost time now in these matters, and we owe certain people or victims responses to these matters. Let's get the matters going. Thank you, Chair.
If I can just put some dates to you. The evidence has been that the dockets were taken to Pretoria in 2 stages, on the 28th of March and the 22nd of April, and that they were returned on the 18th of August. So it would have been 3 to 4 months that your system was interrupted.
That is correct, Counsel.
If I may, and in the time that the dockets were removed, there had been, until they were returned, there had been no engagement from head office with your team of prosecutors in respect of the matters that they were in. There was nothing.
There was nothing. Commissioner, there was no engagement by SEP's national office with the dedicated capacity within my unit, within my office.
Advocate Harrison, you previously said that no one consulted with you prior to the decision, the apparent decision to disestablish the task team. What would your position been if anyone had consulted you prior to taking such a decision, or for your views on whether such a decision should be taken?
You know, after everything is said and done, and everything that went into providing the coordinated approach and providing this coordinated team, I would have strongly motivated against the de-establishment. If I had been approached for a comment, I would have.
Retired Interpol Ambassador Andy Mashele echoed these concerns in public statements, criticizing Mkhwanazi for bypassing protocols. He argued that any disbandment should have involved discussions with the National Commissioner, perhaps framing it as advice rather than a direct order. Mashele pointed out that ministers can identify priorities like tackling gangsterism or heists, but operational decisions remain with police leadership. The unilateral approach, he said, ignored the task team's provincial structure and the need for engagement over immediate directives. These testimonies painted a picture of systemic vulnerabilities, where political interference cascaded into justice delivery. Analysts like Ongama Mtimka praised Mkhwanazi's 6 July press conference as a strategic move to galvanize public support and expose underworld influences. Mtimka noted that by going public, Mkhwanazi protected himself from potential removal on false charges, highlighting how elite relationships often shielded corruption. He suggested the rot extended high up, possibly to the presidency, and that the commission revealed damage from efforts to secure positions within the ANC. Wayne Duvenache, from the anti-corruption group organization Undoing Tax Abuse, agreed, stating that internal complaints might have led to Mkhwanazi's ousting by influential cartels within the system. The public briefing provided a shield, implicating executive levels and even members of parliament. Duvenache criticized Ramaphosa for not acting swiftly on recommendations for an anti-corruption body, despite the Advisory Council's August 2024 suggestion. The connections to Molefe and Matlala added layers to the scandal. Molefe faces charges for the 2022 murders of Opa John Sefoga and Hector Buthelezi, known as DJ Somebody and DJ Vintos, and was denied bail in August 2025. Matlala's involvement emerged through the same investigations, with phone records linking them to Mchunu. The task team's work in Gauteng, particularly the Swart murder probe, revealed their roles in broader networks tied to corruption at Transnet and beyond. Mkhwanazi observed that the disbandment order followed closely after these discoveries, suggesting an intent to protect these figures. Deputy National Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibia played a role in executing the transfer of the 121 dockets, now facing disciplinary charges. Mchunu's suspension on July 13, 2025, came swiftly after Mkhwanazi's briefing, with law professor Firoz Kachelia appointed as acting minister. Mchunu denied the allegations, calling them wild, but has yet to testify at the commission. The inquiry, resuming on Monday, September 29, 2025, anticipates testimony from Dumisani Khumalo, expected to shed light on intelligence failures and interference. The task team's successes, including handling 295 finalized cases, underscored its necessity, yet Mchunu's insistence that such crimes ended in 1994 ignored reality. Masemola's unanswered pleas to Ramaphosa for intervention further exposed leadership gaps. As the commission progresses, it offers a chance for reforms, with analysts urging decisive action against corrupt elements. Mtimka emphasized not squandering this opportunity, avoiding protections for politicians under labor laws. An upcoming parliamentary inquiry by the Ad Hoc Police Portfolio Committee may face partisan challenges, but the public domain exposure has shifted momentum. In reflecting on these events, Mkhwanazi's stand against interference has illuminated dark corners of power, potentially sealing Mchunu's fate as Ramaphosa's once reliable ally. The story reveals how personal protections can undermine justice, delaying answers for victims and eroding trust in institutions. With elections looming, the need for accountable leadership grows urgent. What are your thoughts on whether General Mkhwanazi's actions will truly end Senzo Mchunu's political career, or if more powerful forces might protect him? Share your opinions in the comments to join the discussion and help uncover what happens next. Thanks for watching this news bulletin. Please share your opinion in the comments section. We would be glad to read and respond to your comments. Let's meet again tomorrow in our next strange story. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and have a relaxing Sunday.